They helped me endure being isolated in a country I had only lived in for a few months. I know it's not an exaggeration to say I would not be a published author if I hadn't found that group. Welcome to episode 4 of my series on how to be a published author in 2020. And this is one where I'm really going to try to make good on the 2020 part, because while having a writer's group has always been a really vital part of finishing a book and finding your path to publishing, I think this year, right now, having that support group is more important than ever. Aside from actually finishing your draft, this might be the most important step you take. In fact, it might be the most important step, because I think a lot of writers who don't find groups just never end up finishing their books. I really believe that I would have been one of those writers. 10 years ago, I was living overseas when I developed tuberculosis and pneumonia, and I was quarantined and I lost my job. I finished a draft of my very first book during this time, and I knew I had a lot of revising to do, not to mention just a lot of research and things to learn both about writing and publishing. And hey, I was in bed all day with nothing to do but mess around on my laptop, so I joined the Absolute Write forums, and that's where I found my very first critique group. My first ever critique group was a virtual one out of necessity, and they helped me to not only learn how to be a better writer and revise my book to get it in the best shape possible and prepare to start querying, they were also there for me when the rejections started pouring in. And more importantly, they helped me endure being isolated in a country I had only lived in for a few months. I know it's not an exaggeration to say I would not be a published author if I hadn't found that group. So with everybody practicing social distancing right now, a lot of critique groups just aren't meeting at all, but we need these groups now more than ever. So right now, I want to take just a few minutes to lay out what I think is the easiest way to start an online critique group, or to take your current critique group and shift them online. A quick note before we get started: these steps cover how to set up and run an online critique group that already has interested members. If you're starting from scratch and you're trying to figure out where you can find members to join your group, then stick around because I'm going to cover that next. So a good online critique group just needs 2 things: a way to communicate in real time, preferably face-to-face, and a way to easily share documents. So step 1 is going to be to pick your real-time platform. Zoom is currently the most popular option, and if you weren't familiar with Zoom or hadn't used it before March 2020, I bet you're pretty familiar with it now. All you need to start using Zoom with your critique group is their email addresses. And you could also go with FaceTime, Skype, Google Hangouts, really whatever platform you're comfortable with. Step 2 is to find a way to share your writing. While everyone in your group can just have maybe a group email where you all attach Word documents of your writing, I highly advise against this. It just gets really confusing when you've got all of these documents flying around in your inbox, especially as everyone is constantly revising and updating their manuscripts. Are you reading the updated version of Joe's Steampunk Fantasy? It's hard to say because you have 10 different documents titled Joe's Steampunk Fantasy on your desktop. The absolute simplest way to do this is Google Docs. So let's hop on my laptop right now and I'm going to show you how to set it up. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you're logged into your Gmail or your Google account. And you're going to go to docs.google.com. You can also do this from Google Drive. And you're going to click Start a New Document, Blank Document. Now, let's say I have a couple of chapters in a manuscript I'm working on, and that's what I want to get critiqued this week. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a title, either the title of my book or my name, something so that my critique partners know when they see the document who it belongs to. And I'm just going to copy from my Word document and paste in a story that I've been working on. Okay, so here's a couple of chapters. You can see 7 pages uploaded, ready to go. Now I'm going to go up here to this blue share button, click share. And you can see down here, you can copy a link to your Google Doc and you can send it this way, but they make it even easier. You can just add your critique partner's email addresses right here. I'm gonna go ahead and use one of my other email addresses just for practice's sake. And you would enter all of the email addresses here. Now this is automatically going to be set to editor, which is fine. That means that whoever gets access to the document, they can make changes and edits inside your document as well as leave comments. If you only want comments, you can just click commenter. Whichever one you choose, just don't use only view, because then they can only read the document, but they can't leave you comments. And I mean, I guess you could do that if you only want to get critiqued when you have your in-person or online like virtual meetings. But personally, I find it really encouraging and helpful As the person being critiqued, I love seeing comments on my work. I find that just very encouraging and motivating. And as a critiquer, it helps me keep track of my thoughts if I can just write down as I'm reading everything I'm thinking about it and leave them comments in the document. That way I can make sure I'm giving them all the feedback I want to give them. So I'm gonna go ahead and use Commenter for this. You can type a message, they'll see this in their inbox because we're about to email them. So let's say I just write, hi, these are my pages for this week. Thanks. And that's it. And I'm going to click send. Now, this is going to pop up in your critique partners inboxes. So we can see it. I'm going to check my other email right here on my phone. I'm going to tap that. There's my document. I'm going to open it up. And there's the story. So this is really cool too, because now you can read your critique group partners' work on your phone or your iPad, or of course on your laptop where you can leave the comments. The great thing about this is that it's just one document per person. So it just really saves a lot of frustration, in my opinion, because trying to keep track of a billion Word documents is just really annoying. So once you've got Zoom and Google Docs all set up and ready to go, all that's left is coming up with a schedule. Treat the Zoom calls as you would an in-person meetup. You can do it once a week or twice a month or whatever schedule works best for your group. Depending on how large your group is, you might not be able to have everyone critique everyone's pages every time you meet. So chat with your group before the first official meeting to decide on like a staggered layout of who's going to share their pages when. Let's take a quick look at a sample schedule. So here we have a group with 6 members. I just called them A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, and they are going to meet every Friday at 2 p.m. on Zoom and have a little coffee hang and chat about everyone's writing that week. So on Monday, the Monday before the Friday meeting, 2 of their members are going to share new pages. So they're only going to be critiquing 2 members' pages per week. So what I've done here is I've given A and B, they're going to share their pages on Monday. Everybody will, the other members, C, D, E, and F, will have the rest of the week to read over the pages and think about what they're going to say. And then they'll discuss A and B's stories here on Friday. So then that means that the next Monday, it's going to be members C and D's turn to share. And A and B are going to be critiquing and E and F are going to be critiquing. Then of course in the third week, it's going to be A, B, C, D, their turn to critique, and E and F are going to be sharing their pages on Monday, and their pages will be discussed on Friday. So again, you can do this however you like, whatever schedule works best for your group, but it is good to have it all in one place. Actually, you can see I did this in Google Spreadsheets because you can also share that with your group, and that way everybody always knows what week is theirs to share and what week is theirs to critique. So real quick, let's talk about actually finding critique partners. I'm the critique group coordinator for my local chapter of SCBWI. If you're a kid-lit author or illustrator, you write middle grade, young adult picture books, I highly recommend you check out your local chapter of your SCBWI and reach out to their coordinator about existing local groups in your area. You can also try reaching out to local chapters of groups like Horror Writers of America, SFWA, Mystery Writers of America. All of these organizations are great and will often have a lot of resources for you if you're looking for writing critique groups. And the great thing about that is that you know you're going to be getting in touch with writers who write in your genre. Another option, and this is the route I went with 10 years ago when I was living overseas, is just to join a free open forum like Absolute Write. AW is enormous, and while it's almost kind of overwhelmingly huge, the forum is broken up into sections, including threads for different genres and different age groups, and also threads about specifically finding beta readers. I do recommend that you chat a little bit and really get to know people in there instead of just putting out a call for beta readers or critique group partners, because you really want to get to know the other members and what they're like and what they're writing and get a sense of whether or not they would be a good match for you before you pop the question. Now, if you're ready to do this, but you find the idea of putting your work out there, your writing out there for other people, maybe even strangers, to read and critique absolutely terrifying, and or you are scared to death at the thought of reading someone else's writing and providing critical feedback on that, which I was in the beginning too. Oh my gosh, I was so intimidated. Then you're going to want to hit that notification bell and subscribe to this channel, because next week's episode is going to be all about criticism, how to give it effectively, how to accept it and learn from it, and why it is so vital for authors to do both. And the earlier in your career you can do it, the better. Your writing peers need you now more than ever. If you have any fears, any reservations, any questions about how to get an online critique group started, please go ahead and ask me in the comments. And if you're wondering, well, what stage do I have to be at to join a critique group? I'm only just getting started, or I've already written my book and I'm halfway through revisions, maybe it's too late for me to join a group. No, the answer is if you are working on a book, even if it's just an idea in your head right now, yes, you can and should have a critique group. It really will make all the difference in the world. If you found this video helpful, a thumbs up would be hugely appreciated, and I will see you guys Wednesday with another writing workshop and Friday with a fiction fix it. Bye guys.